please rise for the presentation of the colors, followed by the national anthem, POW MIA ceremony, and moment of silence.
Colors. Right, face, forward, arch, up, right, up, right, up, right, up, right, up, right, 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 hard, on, hard, up, right, hold guard, up, eight, freeze, and hold.
Oh, say, can you see by the dawn's early light what so proudly we hailed as the twilight's last gleaming, whose broad stripes and bright stars through the perilous fight o'er the ramparts we watch were so gallantly streaming, and the red rocket's red glare, the bombs bursting in air, gave proof through the night that our flag was still there. Oh, say does that star-spangled banner yet wave o'er the land of the free and the home of the brave.
Order, out.
Ladies and gentlemen, please direct your attention to the POW MIA table setting. As you entered the ballroom this evening, you may have noticed a table before you in a place of honor near our stage. Today we have some honored guests who cannot be with us. The table is reserved to honor our missing loved ones and comrades in arms. The military case is filled with symbolism. This table is our way of symbolizing the fact that members of our profession of arms are missing from our ranks. They are commonly called POW MIA. We call them brothers and sisters. They are unable to be with us this evening, so we remember them because of their incarceration. The empty places are symbolic of the thousands of American prisoners of war and missing in action from all foreign conflicts still unaccounted for, from each of the armed forces: Army, Marine Corps, Navy, Air Force, and Coast Guard. They are not with us today. Their chairs are empty, but saved for their hoped return. Let us remember their absence. Let us remember the United States Army. Let us remember the United States Marine Corps. Let us remember the United States Navy. Let us remember the United States Air Force. Let us remember the United States Coast Guard. Let us remember the men and women prisoners of war from all branches of service that are too often forgotten. Let us remember them. The tablecloth is white, symbolizing the purity of their intentions to respond to their country's call to arms. Remember. The lone candle symbolizes the frailty of a prisoner alone, trying to stand up against their oppressors. Remember. The candlelight is reminiscent of the light of hope which lives in our hearts to illuminate their way home, away from their captors to open arms of a grateful nation. Remember. The single rose reminds us of the families and loved ones of our comrades in arms who keep the faith and await their return. Remember. The yellow ribbon tied on the vase is reminiscent of the yellow ribbon worn upon the lapel and breasts of thousands who bear witness to their unyielding determination to demand a proper accounting of our missing. Remember. A slice of lemon on the bread plate to remind us of their bitter fate. Remember. There is salt upon the bread plate, symbolic of the family's tears as they wait. Remember. The glass is inverted. They cannot toast with us tonight. Remember. The chair is empty. They are not here. Remember. Remember all of you who served with them and call them brothers and sisters, for surely they have not forsaken you. Remember. As we look upon the empty table, do not remember ghosts from the past. Remember our comrades. Remember those whom we depend on in battle. They depend on us to bring them home. Remember our friends. They are the loved ones, the ones we love, whom love life and freedom as we do. They will remember what we do. Please take a moment and honor and remember them.
Okay, right, eight, forward, arch, up, right, up, right, up, right, up, right, right, up.
You may now be seated. Welcome to the 9th Annual Veteran Appreciation Dinner. We are honored to host those who have served our nation so proudly. My name is Adeli Duron, and I'm the director of the Veteran Services Center. And you just met Jane Killer, our assistant director and U.S. Army reservist, who so beautifully presented our Missing in Action table. I invite you to please enjoy your salads. For those of you that are vegetarian and vegan, just make sure that your cards are out. The catering staff will come out and switch out your salads. If you have a nut allergy, if you so kindly, please raise your hand so that the staff can switch out your salad. Thank you. The Veteran Appreciation Dinner is UCI's end-of-the-year celebration, honoring our deserving graduating veteran and military students as they prepare to embark on the next stages of their academic and professional careers. With a night of good food, drinks, and an inspiring keynote speaker, we are honored to have friends, family, campus allies, and military supporters join us and express appreciation to our brave students for their service to our country. We're here today to honor our service members and to remember their sacrifices they have made and the courage it takes to defend, honor, duty, and country. We're here today to honor our heroes, to remember their achievements, their courage, and their dedication, and to express our gratitude for their sacrifices. This year, we've been working on some amazing programs and services, not only for our veteran students, but also for the Orange County veteran community. Throughout the course of the dinner, you will hear more about each of these programs and how you may be able to contribute. I would now like to introduce our Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, Dr. Thomas Parham. Dr. Thomas Parham is Vice Chancellor of Student Affairs, an adjunct faculty member at the University of California, Irvine. For the past 33 years, Dr. Parham has focused his research efforts in the area of psychological negligence and has authored 7 books and over 40 journal articles and book chapters in the areas of identity development, African psychology, and multicultural counseling. He has also produced several videos, including Counseling African Americans, Youth and Violence, and Innovation Approaches to Counseling African Descent People. He has served as chair of the Martin Luther King Jr. Symposium for 10 years, helped charter the Orange County chapter for the 100 Black Men of America, and is the past president of the National Association of Black Psychologists and the Association of Multicultural Counseling and Development. He has been recognized as a distinguished psychologist by the Association of Black Psychologists. While serving as Vice Chancellor for Student Affairs at University of California, Irvine, Dr. Parham prides himself in heading a student affairs team dedicated in supporting the academic mission of the university, enhancing the co-curricular aspects of student learning, assessing learning outcomes, and promoting opportunities for leadership development and character building among students. And after 33 years of service to UCI, he will be leaving his alma mater to assume the presidency of Cal State Dominguez Hills this summer. Please help me welcome Dr. Parham.
Thank you, Adelaide. Good evening. Let me try that again. Good evening. As we are here to celebrate our veterans and the service they give, I am grateful for several things. First, when I became Vice Chancellor 8 years ago, we had a veteran presence that was a desk in an office shared with a couple of folk off in a corner someplace. And we boldly declared that on my watch, we would not have a university that did not honor respectfully the sacrifice that our veterans had made, both students who were on campus, those who would later be here that we would recruit, those who had graduated before, and all the veterans, I think, that we would connect to out in the community. And so we created a veteran center and elbowed out some space, and we were blessed to really preserve the leadership of Adelaide Duron. So I want you to know that a lot of what we do out of that center, a lot of what we take a lot of pride in, that center is a hub and a spoke of activity for all of our veteran students. It is not the place where all the services are provided, but they essentially are coordinated so that if you want mental health care, if you want career support, if you want disability support, if you want medical care, if you want academic advising, whatever it is that you need as a veteran, that center is kind of the hub and the conduit that gets you that space, and they produce outstanding service for our students. but it is under the leadership of Adelaide Durone. So I don't want us to go any further without giving her the recognition she deserves. This is Adelaide Durone and her center that puts all this together. So thank you very much. I'm also pleased that back in those days when I became Vice Chancellor, the first dinner we had about maybe 30 people in it. I think 27 was the actual number. And I said to myself, never again. And I expected to not have 2 tables and us celebrating veterans, but to be able to fill a ballroom, right, with people who wanted to give honor and respect, right, to the legacy that our veterans had left and the sacrifices they had made. And now we fast forward all these years, this has now become an annual event where we come not only to recognize and honor and celebrate the accomplishments of our veteran students, but now we have all of you here with us to join the Anita family, right, in being able to do that. That's a pretty doggone good tribute. So I appreciate that very much. So please give yourselves a hand for being here to celebrate our veterans. Also want to recognize Jane Killer, who you saw earlier, who did our tribute to the open table. And the work that happens in that center is really a function of both Adelie and Jane, and I wanted to thank her very much for her contributions to that, as well as, where's Jane at? There. And they are each, Jane and Adelie, too humble to tell you the good work they do. But literally, we as a campus get a lot of credit for some of the innovation that we have achieved. When it comes down to, right, being able to do lots of those things, it is these 2 ladies, right, who are really in that space. And so I want to say thank you publicly for what it is you do. And I want to say really thank you to an entire campus that is led by an individual I'll have the pleasure of introducing momentarily, who is a veteran-friendly place. But I need you to understand that even as we talk about being veteran-friendly, let me be clear tonight. There's a difference, my friends, between endorsement and advocacy. Oh, you did not hear me. There's a difference between endorsing an idea that we want to support our veterans and advocating for that, right, endorsement in ways that makes policies and practices that are different than they used to be 10 years ago. Right? That's the difference. And at UCI, we never managed to follow the leader. We always managed to try to set the curve. And so even as we think about our aspirational goals, our challenge in our veteran appreciation, our challenge in our veteran center, our challenge with all the ways in which we try to now educate, right, all the veterans who we hope will come and have a place in this university, is to close the gap between what we aspire to achieve in our grandest dreams and how that aspiration gets closed, right, in terms of how that gets operationalized and actualized every day in the context of our work here on this campus. When we set the pace and created a veteran center, when we set the pace and created the first guaranteed veteran housing program on campus, when we set the pace and create all these VetNet ally places around the campus, and we set the pace to do those things, it is because it is not simply a center that does it. It is not simply a personality that does it. It is a core principle of this campus. And whether we have leaders who come and go, right, it isn't about that individual leader. It really is about the values of this campus. So please know that it is UCI that embraces what we do in support for our veterans. And we want all of you to then go out and spread the word. Tonight, every one of you where are my social media buffs at? Where you at? Where you at? Oh, now nobody's raising a hand, right? Oh, that's how y'all gonna do me. Where the social media buffs at, right? Everybody should be taking a picture, tweeting and twittering to say, I was kicking it at UCI, supporting our veterans, and I want you to know that this is a veteran-friendly place so that you can help them recruit the next veterans who need to come and think about taking advantage of these resources that are in this magnificent institution. Everybody with me on that? Yes. Okay. With that, I'll stop then and say, it is my pleasure to introduce our chancellor, our leader, And leaders should always be known not by the titles they hold, right? Or the positions and titles, but rather by the principles that they articulate, by the values that they embrace, by the policies that they put in place. And we've always been blessed with exceptional leadership here on the campus, and this is no different. Since 2014, right, when he was appointed by the regents, right, we were blessed to have, right, more exceptional leadership. Not only is he our 6th chancellor, but he's also an award-winning scholar and teacher with expertise in the American Constitution and Supreme Court, as well as holding multiple faculty appointments spread throughout schools across campus. And I remember talking with one of our students earlier who said, wow, I didn't know the chancellor was that deep. He is that deep, right? He is not just I guess they think, administrators are all kind of administrative eggheads. But when he got in the classroom and showed off that scholarly expertise and what he knew in citing articles, the students go, woo, that's one of the best tributes you can have, right? To say that you can walk equally with legislators and presidents and other folk who manage universities, but also be in the students, right? Among them, in the classroom, sharing what it is they do. That is the kind of leadership that we are blessed with. He also serves as co-chair of the advisory board of UC's National Center on Free Speech and Civic Engagement, which is also one of the first, I think, that we have. Under his leadership, we have 2 years in a row, we've been recognized as, right, a campus doing the most to help students realize the American dream. We'll hope he'll share some more words about that. If you look at all the accolades that we've gone through, right, and all the pride points that we have, right, it is something that he enjoys and builds on a legacy of all those folk who have come before him. For 2 years running, we've been designated as a Hispanic serving institution, right? In the middle of Orange County, what pride do we take in being an HSI university? Not just because we count demographics, but because of the services and support that we are having and the amount of excellence that we were able to produce at being able to both provide access to this magnificent resource, retention of these students, and graduation in the 4- and 6-year rates in which we are achieving. That's just pretty phenomenal under his leadership. And therein lies, I think, even some of what we call the greatness that we have created under his leadership. And yes, we're highly sought after, right, campus, and we have lots of applicants to our admissions process. But what's important is why it is that people want to come here and study. Because the resources here, the academics here, the research here, and the leadership here is so doggone good that our trajectory is pointed toward greatness and success, primarily because we want to give access, we want to produce that excellence, and we want to create an affordable place for people to be able to come. During his leadership, we've gone from not only adding new services to our Veteran Center, like the growing higher education curriculum specifically designed for veteran students to aid in their transition from military service to campus life and the academic study and career development, but have also been able to partner with our community. Our community helps us better serve both our veteran students, former servicemen and women throughout our community by launching the joint UCI Veteran Talent Reintegration Conference Series, bringing together veterans serving our community organizations, employers, and veterans to develop better employer-veteran recruitment and retention practices, all while providing hands-on assistance training to all those important people who transition from military service into civilian industries and campus life. Get ready, because we are prepared to do some of that again, but it is all under the leadership of the person we call our leader. Ladies and gentlemen, please give it up, our Chancellor. This is Howard Gilman.
Thank you, Thomas. Thank you, Thomas. Good evening, everyone. If you're going to get introduced by someone, get introduced by Dr. Thomas Parham. Before I turn to the occasion that brings us together tonight, may I please ask you to join me once again in congratulating the great Dr. Thomas Parham on his appointment as the next president of California State University, Dominguez Hill. Always an anteater, though. Always an anteater. It is truly an honor and a privilege to be with you all tonight. This event has become one of my favorite events of the year. It's an important event. It's always such an inspirational night. In a few weeks, God, we're going to be graduating the class of 2018, many of whom are with us tonight. Woo! There's genuine excitement in that corner of the room. To graduate from one of America's top research universities is a tremendous accomplishment. I do hope that it's even a little more sweet when that university, our university, has been recognized as the #1 top university in the country doing the most for the American dream. And that really should be an applause line every time a chancellor says it, right? Oh, well, thank you. I had no idea. That's very generous of you. Don't worry, I'm not going to ask for a standing ovation or anything. I'm just trying to, I think the American dream thing is good. I mean, the American dream is about many things, but among other things, it's about opportunity, it's about freedom, it's about service. To those of you here tonight who will soon be receiving your degrees from this great institution, let me say, you have enriched us and inspired us by your talent, by your character and determination, by exemplifying honor and duty, and by your dedication to the preservation and defense of this great American Republic. I sincerely hope that you have been well served by your affiliation with UCI. To all of you who will soon be receiving a degree, may I please ask you to rise that you might be recognized and celebrated by everyone here tonight assembled. If you're getting your degree, stand up and let's hear it for these fantastic people. Oh yeah. All right. Good job. It's a tremendous accomplishment. Nicely done. Nicely done. All right, have a seat. Since our founding in 1965, welcoming veterans into our community has been a constant source of pride. Over the years, thousands of veterans have come here as students to achieve their dreams for a college degree. We're proud to have been the first university, as Thomas mentioned, in the entire nation to provide guaranteed housing to our veteran students and their families, even during periods of deployment. To serve them better, of course, in 2011, we opened the UCI Veteran Services Center, providing additional office and meeting space to help address our veteran students' academic and social needs. And that same year, of course, we started offering veteran student scholarship to supplement the gap between federal veterans benefits funding and the actual cost of attendance. And by the way, we did not do this alone. The great thing about great and inspirational institutions is that we have a fantastic mission, but it's hard for us to accomplish everything on our own shoulders, and we don't want to accomplish everything on our own shoulders. We are here to work in relationship with people of goodwill in the community who share our values and see the contribution that we can make. And on behalf, or for all of you who have been supporters and partners, and for all of you who in the months and years to come will continue to be inspired by the work that we can do together, especially in relationship to this mission, I want to extend my very, very heartfelt gratitude. We come together around this mission because it's the right thing to do, because it ennobles us to do this. It is part of what makes us great. But then again, while we don't do these things because of the rankings, it's sometimes nice when you're doing things for their own well-being and their own reason. It's still satisfying when our actions are recognized by others, and we're grateful to have had extraordinary rankings, for example, in the U.S. News and World Report. as one of America's top universities committed to excellent services for our veteran students. This recognition would not occur without the dedication and hard work of the professional and student staff of our Veteran Service Center. So, for all of you associated with the center, could you please rise and let me ask all of you here to join me in thanking them for all they do. So stand. Okay? And thank you. Thank you. Thank you for all you do. So now it's my great privilege to introduce a very, very special guest. You know, it's baseball season. There's the wind-up and the pitch. So I just did the wind-up, and what's about to follow is the pitch. Lou Correa represents Orange County's 46th district in Congress, where he serves on the Committee on Homeland Security and the Committee on Veterans Affairs. He previously served in the California Senate, the California State Assembly, and on the Orange County Board of Supervisors. Born and raised in Anaheim, he is the proud product, as I am, of California's public education system, graduating from Anaheim High School and Cal State Fullerton before earning his MBA and JD degrees from UCLA. You know, it's just an okay university in its own way. Every degree I ever earned was from UCLA, so I got a little fondness for the place. In all of his public offices, he has fought to ensure that everyone has access to the same opportunity he received, championing affordable higher education, supporting the legal rights of immigrants, care for veterans, and public health and safety services. Please join me in welcoming a friend of veterans, a friend of higher ed, the Honorable Lou Correa.
Chancellor Gilliam, first of all, thank you very much for that warm introduction. Totally undeserved, but thank you very much. And Dr. Parham, you're leaving us. Really? I'm going to make some phone calls and mess you up. How's that? Make sure you stay here. No, I won't do that. I congratulate you, and I look forward to working with you in your new role. To UCI, the great UCI family, thank you very much for what you're doing for our veterans. Can I see a hand of all those that have served to our great country? How many veterans we got here today? A round of applause. Oh, my God. Thank you very much. Trying to get my voice back. I just got off a plane. I wanted to make sure I was here to honor you tonight as new graduates. Congressman Correa, I'm a 60-year-old freshman in Congress, but don't get scared. I served a number of years in the California State Senate and the Assembly, and I served a lot of years on the State Veterans Affairs Committee, and I chaired that committee a number of years as well. And today I'm blessed again to be on the Congressional Veterans Affairs Committee. All of you read the newspapers, you hear about all the partisan politics, all the fighting in Washington. A lot of it is absolutely true, but I would be sinning if I wasn't to tell you that the one place the Democrats and Republicans come together and do good work for our veterans is the Veterans Affairs Committee. We're doing wonderful things there. We have the Choice Act that is going to give a lot of you the opportunity to get your health care close to home where it's convenient. We have the new GI Bill that's going out to assure that you get additional benefits during your whole lifetime. A lot of neat stuff. I'm trying to focus as well on some legislation to help you as well. Yet, you know, when I was in the California legislature, one of the things I wanted to do was ask, how can we help our veterans? And you can do it two ways. You can go and read a lot and try to figure out what the challenges are, or you can just get together with some vets and ask them, how can we be of better service? And when you do that, you begin to find what's really going on in the life of veterans. Just ask a vet. We had a lot of hearings over the years. We came up with some good legislation, and we're doing that again. I can tell you today in Congress, when we have hearings to talk to vets, great things come out of those hearings. I'm having a lot more of those here locally in my district because I want to know, again, what is it that you need? We just got back, the Veterans Affairs Committee took a trip to Europe to meet with our folks, our soldiers out there, talk to them, see what's going on, and see what their needs are. We came up with some good stuff, and we're going to implement it through some new legislation. You as vets, you graduate today, and I'm excited because to me it says that we're actually doing some good things. UCI is doing some good things to get our men and women in uniform. We train them to be the best. We train them to be the best at serving, defending our country. And that's a certain mindset that you adopt to. A lot of you go off and actually are in the theater of war. You see things that maybe no human being should be asked to see. And you come back stateside, and we expect you to automatically forget about what you saw, what you've been through, and just be a normal citizen. And I think finally we're figuring out those invisible wounds you bring back don't heal automatically. And sometimes you carry them for a lifetime. And in my opinion, as a society, not as a legislator, but us as a society, have a moral responsibility to take care of you for the rest of your life. That is a big, big moral responsibility. And it's one we have to take care of, and we have to keep that promise, that commitment. And every once in a while, in Congress, you hear folks talking about, it costs too much. It costs too much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, I got to tell you, that can't be our attitude. Because part of the cost of defending this great nation, part of the cost of deploying is bringing you back home and making sure we take care of you for the rest of your life. No excuses. And some of us believe it, some of us work on it, and some folks we just got to convince. Good stuff going on in Washington. We need to do more. And I think we start at the beginning. All of you here that are getting degrees, congratulations. But I'm going to throw another task upon you, which is don't get your degree, don't go off to work, don't be successful, and don't forget us. Do not forget us. I want to hear from you. I want to continue to work with you. Tomorrow I'm having a lunch in my office where I'm going to invite a whole bunch of my local vets to come in, and we're going to bring in folks from the VA hospital to talk about, are we doing our job or not? What is it that we need to move ahead to make sure we're taking care of you? I want to hear more from you. I want to hear what else we can do for you as you move through life and continue to adapt through life. And more importantly, as we help additional men and women that have served come back and be part of our society. I also serve in a couple of other committees, and I can tell you right now that if you sit on those top secret briefings you get, threat briefings, the world is not getting any safer right now. Things are not getting any better, and that tells me that your mission, our mission, is not going to get any smaller. And we have to prepare for that, and we have to continue to honor and take care of our veterans. So my mission is simple. Go out, enjoy, get your degrees, work, and start calling on me. Start calling on our office, and let's sit down and talk about what else we can do to make your life better. 2 things I'm doing. Again, making sure through some legislation that I'm working on that your life is better. We want to make sure that health care continues to be something accessible, because I don't know if you know, 38% of all vets now get their health care outside the VA. And that pattern is going up. Want to make sure that, you know, the VA is good at providing health care, but they're not good at paying bills. So we're trying to work through that issue. Another issue I'm working on, and maybe I shouldn't bring it up but I'm working on cannabis right now. Don't laugh. Don't laugh. This is serious. Look at this. And I'm doing it because a few years ago, I had to sit down with a bunch of my vets. And they said, hey, Lou, we want our cannabis. I said, so what are you asking me for? Well, you know, they were serious because they wanted to know if they medicated, if they went to the VA, whether that would make them ineligible for other federal benefits. Because, as you know, cannabis is one of those class 1 drugs that's like has no medicinal use whatsoever under current existing law. Yet at the same time, we know, I think UCI is doing some research in this area. We know that, for example, things like epilepsy and seizures, tremendous medication. So we want to find out what else is it good for. We have an opioid crisis right now in our society, and my veterans are telling me, I don't want those medications, I want this. But again, what is it good for? What is it not? Former Secretary Shulkin, I was working with him before he moved on, and wrote him a bunch of letters and said, why don't you do more research into this? He shot back and saying, I don't think I have the authority. And I said, I think you do. I don't think I do. So I've got some legislation to clarify the fact that the VA can do research in this area. And sounds like a funny issue, but it's really not. We just got, we were talking about this issue in Veterans Affairs Committee about 2 weeks ago, and one of the veteran groups did a survey and said that 90% of their members, not 9%, 90% of the members of this veteran group supported additional research into cannabis. If you read between the line, probably a good number of them also use cannabis. So it's time we get our head out of the ground and address some of these issues. But it wasn't Lou that came up with this. It was me listening to the veterans and what they needed. I'm also working on another issue, the second issue that is important, which is, you know, right now about 10% of our veterans are women. That number is going to double really fast. And what we want to make sure is that when our veteran women come back, you get medical service that is appropriate for ladies, for women. And that is something that we are not looking at right now. We are not measuring. We are just assuming that it is happening. So again, we make a lot of assumptions. I need you to tell me whether we're on the right track or not. I'm going to conclude by saying, please, I'm asking you, I'm not inviting you, I'm asking you to get involved, come by, hang out with us. I want to hear what it is that we need to do to make your lives better. And finally, let me conclude by saying, I thank all of our men and women that have served in uniform for the sacrifices that you've made for this country. You are appreciated, and I know what you went through, and I know what you've been through, and I know the new generations will also be there, and we all have to get together, hold hands to make sure that nobody is left behind. Thank you very much. God bless you, and God bless America.
So we're going to ask Congressman Correa to stay with us for a moment. And while we present him with a small token of our appreciation.
Anaheim Angels with some UCI swag on it. And we wanted to present to you a Veteran Services Center polo shirt.
Is that a 2XL? It's too small. Too small.
No.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for coming.
And then Cal State Dominguez Hills next, right?
Consider it done. Consider it done. And we want to invite you to please stay. And we're going to invite, in this portion of our program, which is what we call our Student Bridging the Gap scholarships. And we want to invite Congressman Correa, Chancellor Gilman, if you would join us on stage as well, so that we want to make sure that we recognize and shake the hand of those students who are going to forward. So if you would both relocate on this side over here with me. We're going to ask Adelaide to read the names of those students as she brings them forward, and we'll have the students be recognized. Now, what's important, there are a total of 19 recipients that will be announced throughout the evening that are awarding a total of $40,000 in scholarship money this evening. They're receiving a certificate of recognition from UCI in honor of receipt of their scholarship, and a congressional certificate in recognition provided by Congressman Correa to recognize their academic achievement in receiving this award. So we want to invite them to pose for a picture with both our Chancellor and Congressman. So Adelie, if you would, do the honors. Let's get started.
So the following students have received $2,000 awards from the Military Bridging the Gap Scholarship, funded by the Lois Mirage Family Foundation. Stephen Artia, majoring in Urban Studies. Leon Garayon, majoring in Sociology.
How are you? Congratulations to you. Please, right here.
Kevin Chang, majoring in International Studies. Kevin also works at Battle Buddy Bridge, who's one of our in-kind sponsor donations this evening. The following students could not be with us today: Yi Lu and Adinaja Green, and we'll go ahead and accept their certificates on their behalf. The additional recipients of the Military Bridging the Gap scholarships funded by various sources that range from $500 to $2,000 could not be with us due to scheduling conflicts. We'll accept the award on their behalf and ensure that they receive the certificates of recognition so graciously provided by the Congressman and by Mimi Walters' office. Philip Chen, Mariel Bakanawa, Jabin Lee, Elisa Tai, Gabriel Lops, Brandon Kim, and Edsel Lopez. Thank you. That's it.
Ladies and gentlemen, the Armed Forces Medley. We invite those of you in the audience who have served or are currently serving to please stand and join in as your song is played. United States Coast Guard.
Heroes ready for the call. We place our trust in thee. Through surf and storm and howling gale, I shall our purpose be. Semper Paratus is our guide, our fame, our glory true. To fight, to save or fight, and die by Coast Guard we are for you.
United States Air Force. United States Navy.
Anchors aweigh, my boys, anchors aweigh. Farewell to college joys we
As I also thank Congressman Correa, a longtime friend, I don't want him to get out of here without letting you know there are lots of representatives in the country who talk a good game, and the gap between what they talk and what they do is quite pronounced. As long as I've known him to be a fierce warrior and a champion for veterans. Not lately because it's popular. Years ago, right? When he was in the trenches and holding open forums, and trust me when he gives you that invitation, right, that he's very serious about that. So he cannot serve you well if you don't help him serve you. Please take advantage of that, but know that you have a champion in my friend Lou Correa. Lou, glad to have you in the house, my friend. Also, as I think,
You gotta call me as well.
I'll call you as well. Also, as I thank our illustrious Chancellor, Howard Gilman, for recognizing that accomplishment. Leaving UCI after 33 years will be a difficult task to do. But please know that the best thing I have done in my tenure here is surround myself with just great people. And you provide them with a little bit of strategic vision and a little direction, and you just get out of their way and let them do what they already do well. And I have been served very well by an entire division of student affairs that just has some magnificent people. So let me take a point of privilege with all the people who constitute the student affairs divisions. Rise for me and stand up and be recognized. So please remain standing. So know that as you compliment me, and I appreciate it, I'm grateful, know that who you're complimenting are all these people you just saw stand, and right, 1,000 more on top of that who do fabulous work every day on behalf of our students. That really is the greatness of UCI. I want you to also know that one person who will be remaining right in our office, who is my chief of staff, and lots of you don't know, but he is just a magnificent human being. One of the best decisions I made years ago was to put him in that role. So I want you to say hello to Edgar Dormitorio. And now I have the extreme pleasure of introducing our keynote speaker. What a delight that she has joined us this evening. And as I've read her bio and fabulous career, I'm just excited to hear her just wax and wane. One, because she's a U.S. Air Force veteran, right? I know, I saw the Air Force folks stand up looking like you wanted to fly in here, right? Who graduated from Community College of the Air Force in 1988 with an associate's degree in contract management. Now, that's a significant point, so just put an asterisk by that. Because while serving in her country, she went on to achieve her Bachelor of Science degree in Business Management from Parks University. And she started honing her well-known negotiation skills during her 23 years as United States Air Force contract manager and contracting officer. And that particular contract negotiation piece has a special place in my heart, only because my late aunt, who herself was a WAC and then worked for the department as a civilian, negotiated contracts for the cruise missiles and other stuff. So we have that piece. So I was just kind of channeling her as I'm thinking about our special guest tonight. But she has responsibility of negotiating hundreds of millions of dollars worth of domestic and international contracts, everything from paper and pens and office machines to automotive parts and aircraft maintenance. Then, as if that wasn't enough, she successfully transitioned that skill into civilian industry, into a position in 2003, spending the next 10 years working for aerospace companies such as Sparta and Parsons and Raytheon. In 2009, she founded and became CEO. She said, I can do this. So I'm gonna step out on my own. So she founded, and became CEO of Dynamic Visions International Incorporated, specializing in leadership negotiation, communication training, particularly to corporate clients and small businesses domestically and internationally. And she's been featured on a number of broadcast networks, has been published in the New York Times, the Washington Post, Forbes magazine, the Huffington Post, right? So what she puts out, right, is about not only stimulating the intellect, but also empowering people, which is what I love about, right, what she's done. She's also authored 2 books. Her most recent can be found at your tables. Think Like a Negotiator, 50 ways to create win-win results by understanding the pitfalls to avoid. And this one I love. She's the co-author of a book called The Heart of a Military Woman, the compilation of stories by, for, and about military women. I can't wait to hear that, and we are so delighted that she has joined us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together with a warm and needed round of applause for Eldana Lewis Fernandez. Give it up.
Eldana Lewis Fernandez, Master Sergeant, United States Air Force, retired. Come on, bring it! Bring it! Give the veterans some love. I haven't always been Master Sergeant Eldana Fernandez. At 19, I was a lost and confused kid, running with the wrong crowd, headed down a loser's path. Drama, dumb decisions, abusive relationships. Problem was, I always felt abandoned. Anybody here ever felt abandoned? A lot of it had to do with my mother dying of alcoholism when I was only 12 years old. Could have been that time when I was 16 and I dropped out of high school and nobody cared. Or maybe it was that time when I was 18. Just come home from hanging out with my friends, looking forward to kicking back, grabbing a snack, watching some TV. I opened the door and went inside and couldn't believe what I saw. Nothing. It was empty. The furniture was gone. Everything was gone. My father had packed up and moved to Florida, didn't even leave me a forwarding address. Had no family, no place to lay my head. I was alone, had no one to turn to. You ever felt alone in the world? One day I saw a commercial about the Air Force. Air Force, a great way of life. Sounded like an adventure, a chance for a different life. Within a few months, I found myself in a room with a U.S. flag, much like this, taking that oath. I, Eldana Lewis, do solemnly swear to support and defend the Constitution of the United States against all enemies, foreign and domestic. From the moment I took that oath, I realized being in the military was so much more than wearing a uniform or carrying a gun. It was that deep camaraderie, that special connection. Everywhere you look, there were people who cared, people who had your back no matter what. Like the time when my father died. I was sitting at my desk at work when the call came in. And just as I hung up the phone, I looked up and my supervisor passed by and I cried out, "My dad just died!" Instantly, she scooped me up and took me to her office. Within minutes, the office filled with people. I felt an arm around my shoulder. Somebody cupped my hand. The office filled with more people. More people went into action, making phone calls, taking care of things. Despite the fact that my heart was breaking over the loss of my last immediate family member, I felt the comfort and security of the family I'd never had and knew I'd never be abandoned again. This military, these people, this Air Force for me was a great way of life. It was also challenging and demanded sacrifice. My original intent was to get in and do my 4 years and get out. But in April 2003, I retired from the United States Air Force with 23 years of honorable military service. think about the transition. Let's talk a little bit about the transition. But one thing that people don't often consider is, we as veterans, we get out of the military, we get in the military, we're forward march, we keep on going. We get family members. All right, you guys got to come along with us. Sometimes we don't think about them because we're off doing the mission, and it's kind of like, okay, they have to stay behind and they have to keep carrying on and keep on going forward. How many family members of veterans are here by a show of hands? Awesome. Thank you for serving as well. That's something that we get told, thank you for your service. But I always tell a family member, thank you too. And what I like to do is read a story from my book, Heart of a Military Woman, about a child's point of view of what it's like when a military member deploys. Must have my reading glasses. This is called Airport Package. I'm a military brat. I grew up with both my parents in the Air Force. When 9/11 happened, the world I knew slowly came to an end. My mom was working crazy hours, practicing war games, and always had her bags packed because she was getting told she was going to be deployed, but they ended up being false orders. Finally, the news came that she was actually getting deployed to the Middle East for a 90-day period, which ended up being almost 120 days. That may not sound too bad compared to the 6-month tours many soldiers are going on, but for an 11-year-old girl with a 9-year-old little brother, that was the worst possible situation. I don't quite remember her leaving, the whole airport scene, but what I do remember is her being gone. While she was gone, my dad ended up getting deployed to Korea for a year. My brother and I had to live with our aunt and neighbors with no parents. My mom was gone on a top secret deployment, so we didn't know exactly where she was. Both my parents were very hard to contact. We would write and receive letters, but it would be weeks at a time with no contact to either of them. It was a very hard time in my life. Having both of my parents gone took a toll on all aspects of my life. I gave up in school, and I didn't care about my grades or my social life. I had a best friend who I could talk to about everything, but other than that, I was quiet and sad. The time finally came. My mom's tour was over, and she would be coming back. We lived in the smallest little town in New Mexico, so to go to the airport, you had to drive about 90 miles. My aunt and her boyfriend decided to take me and my brother out for a day of fun in El Paso, Texas, where the closest airport was. On our way home, they said we had to stop by the airport to pick up something. I remember sitting in the airport thinking to myself, I'm going to be here in a week to get my mom. Little did I know that's why we were there. My mom ended up coming home a week early. I remember sitting in the airport just looking around, not paying attention to anything at all. And I turned my head and I see my mom. I was like, oh, hey, it's my mom. Just like it was no big deal. Then I had to do a double take and I jumped up out of my seat and said, it's my mom. Both me and my brother jumped up and ran and tackled her. It's a different life being a military brat. You have to sacrifice things that non-military kids don't even know about or understand. And you gain an understanding about the importance of sacrifice. I have considered going into the Air Force myself, and my brother is planning on joining when he graduates high school. Maybe when we have children, both our kids will turn out to be military brats and continue the tradition too. That was written by my daughter, Marissa Fernandez, who unfortunately couldn't come tonight because she was working. But oftentimes during our military service and even in the transition, we don't think about how it affects the kids. And I really didn't know until I read that story. She wrote that when she was 18. She's now finishing up her teaching credential at Long Beach State, Go Beach. And I'm proud of her. She got initiated into the National Honor Society, and she's going to be an English teacher. So she was well on her way here writing this several years ago. But I didn't know until I read that how it affects the family on such a deep level, especially the kids. That's one thing that we always have to consider, not only serving, but also in the transition. Now, normally when I speak about my military service, I usually wear my uniform. But tonight I decided not to, but I do have it here. And I wanted to share this from a perspective of, I retired in 2003, and I took this off, but I never left it behind. None of us ever do. When we transition out, the thing is, we were in the military. We came in and we were stripped of who we are. And then we were built back up to support a mission, to learn how to be disciplined, focused, and successful, and live by integrity. I still live by the Air Force core values of integrity first, service before self, and excellence in all we do. And the toughest thing about transitioning out of the military is not only leaving that behind, because anybody who's active duty or who's going in the service at some point will take that uniform off and leave it behind, but you'll never leave the military behind because it's something that's embedded in you. It's something that's always going to be in you. And the thing is, you step out of the military and you go into the real world and nobody gets who you are. It's like, whoa, you're just at a way too high ops tempo than I'm used to. Dial it down a little bit, will ya? What do you mean put the shopping cart back? Yeah, put the shopping cart back. How many of you have ever pulled into the parking slot and there's a shopping cart there and it's like, look, I know that's not a veteran that did that because no veteran or military member would ever leave the shopping cart out. I have a blog post about make your bed, put the shopping cart back, and pick up the trash. I mean, I have friends that think that I'm nuts about that, but that's because I lived a disciplined lifestyle. The bed drills I did for 3 hours in basic training was not so much about making a bed to where a quarter could bounce off of it, but it was more about learning how to do something in excellence, quickly, effectively, and every single time make sure it's done in excellence. And if it's not, I'm going to do it over until it gets right. But if I take something out, I'm going to put it back. And military members are wired that way. We're all wired that way from being in basic training, and a lot of the world doesn't get that. I'm really happy to hear here at UC Irvine that you guys have such a great community that supports veterans transitioning out, because that's one of the main things that a vet needs is a community. You need a community to connect to make sure that you don't leave your military roots behind, because you can't. And that's probably the toughest thing when I got out of the military. I came to Los Angeles, which even though there's LA Air Force Base, don't really count that as a base. It's like a little blip, some buildings. I worked there for a while, but it's a lot of people. I lived in Redondo Beach, and people there were like, there's an Air Force Base here? Where is it? Yeah, it's right over there. It felt very weird because this was not a military town where I came, and nobody got me because I was different, because I had that military mindset. So you want to make sure that you stay connected even after you graduate and you leave this great community that they've created for you here as veterans, where you have some place to go. When you go out there, whether you're going to a job or you're going to a business, find veteran organizations that you can connect with. I'm a member of Post 291, my friend who came here, American Legion in Newport Beach. You can go there and you still feel at home. I enjoy going on a base. Since I'm retired, I have a retiree ID card, and I enjoy going on the base, handing them my ID card, and they say, yeah, have a good day, Master Sergeant. Yeah, that's right. I may be in civilian clothes, I may be retired, but I am still a Master Sergeant, and don't you ever forget it. By the way, I give, for those of you who don't know me and probably wouldn't guess this, I'll tell you something else I do that's kind of out of the ordinary. I ride a Harley. I'm a bad biker chick. Anyway, I digress. But become part of an organization that will support you in what you're doing. American Legion, VFW, if you want to be in the media, or the film industry, there's Veterans in Media and Entertainment, which I'm part of. I've started to take some acting classes, which is interesting. I was doing it to become a better speaker, but I'm liking the acting thing, and I may explore that. Who knows? But there's organizations out there for whatever you want to do. I'm a member of Saddleback Church. If you're a Christian, we have a great... Come into our veterans group on Wednesday night. So we meet on Wednesday, and I invited somebody to come play. She's a singer, songwriter, and she came, and she's not been around the military much, and she comes, and the first half hour of the meeting, we're throwing jabs at each other. Yeah, Marine Corps this, yeah, Chair Force, yeah, da 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 da. And she's like, what is going on here? Is this normal? Yeah, it'll take a while. We just throw jabs all night. It's how we feel connected. We still like to throw those jabs at each other, but find yourself an organization. There's a lot of veterans business organizations. And there's business networking. There's a lot of clubs for veterans. There's all types of things that you can connect in something that you enjoy. Find those things. If you're a motorcycle rider, the American Legion has riders clubs. I think the VFW has them too. There's something that you can connect with. Stay connected, because if you don't, you'll feel a little like a fish out of water, and you'll be floating around thinking, where am I going? What am I going to do? I don't know. And I struggled with that for a while. I felt a little depressed, and I didn't know why. It's because I was so disconnected from my veteran community. And as soon as I got around vets again, and we had that same kind of banter and that kind of camaraderie, I felt at home again. It'll never leave you. You may step out of this, but this will always be with you. And be okay with that. And some of us have gone through some struggles. There are organizations out there that can help. Don't be afraid to step into those and connect with those. Okay, so I have a military joke. The DOD, also known as the Department of Defense, was doing an all-service briefing. And the briefing leader was asking, what would you do if you found a scorpion in your tent? Army said, or Navy said, I'd squash it. Army said, I'd kick it across the room. Marine Corps said, I'd kill it, bite it, stinger off, and eat it. Air Force said, I'd call room service and find out why there's a tent in my room. God bless the Air Force. I love that. Well, okay, I'll tell you, when I deployed, if you call this a deployment to Spain, I did deploy. We went down there, and as a contracting person, I went down and did a cost comparison to setting up a tent city or setting us up in hotels. And it was cheaper to go in hotels. It was more expensive to set up a tent city. So obviously, we went in hotels. There's nothing wrong with that. Air Force has the best chow hall, too. Anyway. It does. All my Marine Corps buddies will say that, yeah, the Air Force has the best chow hall. We used to go over to the chow hall. And actually, let me tell you another little thing about that. So, how many here call it the chow hall? Right, chow hall, right? Well, one day I was on we were on an exercise, and we got recalled, and we came in at 5 in the morning. And so you come in, you sign in, and you wait, and then you go over to the chow hall. So I call up the chow hall on the base, and they answer the phone. They say something funny, and I'm like, "Is this a chow hall?" And they're like, "No, this is the Cy Wilson Enlisted Dining Facility." Okay, are you open? They didn't like it being called the chow hall. It's the chow hall. But once you've stepped out, you whether you were in 1 year or 30 years, I will tell you that I heard Colin Powell speak after he'd retired from the military and after he'd stepped out of being Secretary of State, and you could hear the quiver in his voice about how much he missed his service. And he was going around speaking to being of service that way, but I could detect it. Only a veteran could detect that. I could detect it in his voice. Like he went from being a 4-star general to Secretary of State to kind of nobody. It's kind of this thing you get out and you're like, what do I do now? So he has done a lot of speaking and such, but he was in the middle of that transition, and it was just as tough for him. So those of us who have served, it is service. You don't have to just wear this uniform to be of service. You can still be of service some other way. I do some service to vets, but most recently I went on. Now, normally what I speak on and train on is how to think like a negotiator, like you heard in my introduction. I have a book called Think Like a Negotiator. I teach people about negotiation, about making deals. And one of the primary things that I teach, which is good for you if you're going for a job or going into a business, is to ask for exactly what you want. Ask for exactly what you want. Actually, let's repeat that. Ask for exactly what I want. What is it? Awesome. We don't get if we don't ask. And I don't have a problem asking somebody to pay me to speak. I don't have a problem asking somebody to buy my books or to buy my products or services. No big deal. But in February of this year, and I made a decision several months before that I was going to go on a mission trip to Kenya. And I thought, okay, I had met the people from the group and knew we were going to go serve some people, and I really wanted to go. But I had to raise money to go. And that was where it was struggling for me to ask. I had a hard time asking people to donate money for me to go on this mission trip. And I asked some people from my veterans group, and one person made a donation, and I put it out on Facebook. I did a GoFundMe, and I put it out on Facebook, but I really wasn't going and asking individually and asking people and really pushing it. And we're getting close, and they're like, we need to book your ticket. We need some money for that. And I'm like, well, maybe I can't go. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. So the guy who made the first donation calls me up and says, you need to go, and I'm going to help you raise some money. Well, that was the thing that kicked me into gear. I thought, no, you're not. I'm going to do this. Wait a minute. So I got up the courage to start asking. The first person I asked donated $200. The second person I asked donated $100. I was only asking for $20 donations or whatever somebody could afford. The third person donated $100, and the fourth person donated $50. Before you know it, I had more money than I needed, and I was able to go downtown LA and buy 22 dozen pairs of socks and 17 dozen pairs of underwear to take to kids over there in Kenya, all because I asked. Now, whether it's me asking that, or you asking for salary for a job, or you're asking for something for a business, or whatever you need to ask, you need to stand up and ask. Had I not asked, I wouldn't have had the experience that I had on this trip. I thought that, oh, I'm going to get my hands dirty, and we'll do whatever, and we'll do some outreach, and whatever we're going to do. And a couple days before I left, I went and looked at the schedule. What are we doing? Here's the schedule. This is great. Eldana speaks, Eldana speaks, Eldana speaks, Eldana speaks, Eldana speaks. Oh, I guess I'm going to be speaking. What am I going to say? That was no big deal. I can go on for hours, days. You guys would be here falling asleep. But I wouldn't let you. So I went there, and we went place to place. We went to prisons. We went to schools. I spoke to young ladies. I spoke to young gentlemen. I spoke to men. I spoke to women, women's prison, men's prison. We went to a church. I was speaking all types of places. And then we went to this place called the Kipsongo Slum. And the Kipsongo Slum is a slum that was developed in the 1970s. It was when some people from the Turkana region, they were displaced, and they came to this displaced people's camp. And the camp closed down, and they had nowhere else to go, so they stayed there. They live in mud huts with a tin roof and a dirt floor smaller than a tiny house. And people, up to 10 people, will sleep in there, and a lot of them don't have, well, they have little windows, but they don't have doors, and they don't have curtains. Some of them don't. And they have a water pump in the middle of the slum where they have to go get their water. So we go there, and these ladies are singing. And they're just so full of joy. And I thought, wow, I need to do something more with these ladies. And we toured the slum, and when we left, one lady took me in her hut, and she gave me this beaded necklace. This is made out of magazines, handmade out of magazines. And she said, pray that my son, Maxwell, one of her 6 kids, gets the money to go to school. School's not free over there. And she's somebody who has been prostituting herself to make money. And I didn't realize what the beads were about. I thought, oh, these are nice. And we went back that night, and I found out that they get into groups of 5, and they take a $300 microloan, and they make these beads, and they sell them. So I got shaken awake in the middle of the night with one of these ideas. Oh, why don't I buy a few beads and sell them with my books when I speak? Good idea. So I bought a few beads and came back, and it's turned into so much more than that. It's turned into my new way of, and I've done a lot of service here and there since I've been out of the military, but this is something I'm going to do the rest of my life, is to help these women eradicate poverty in their life and get out of having to prostitute themselves and get out of having to make a decision. Do I send my kid to school? Do I give them medical care? Or do I give them food? Thank you. I've already sold hundreds and hundreds of beads. I've sold out I'm sending the money right back to them, and it's blessing their lives. I'm going over there again June 26th for 3.5 weeks to work with these ladies. It's very grassroots. I have no idea where it's going, but I have a heart to serve because I spent 23 years in this uniform. Those of you who are veterans who have served, you have that service mentality. use it to serve somebody else, whether it's another vet, and I do serve other vets. Sometimes I go with my group at Saddleback when I am not off speaking, and we go to the Long Beach VA and we visit with the vets there in the spinal ward. Or maybe we'll go help some other vets in other areas. Sometimes we do stuff with the vets that are the active duty at Camp Pendleton. But do something to be of service, because that is in you. Those of you who have been in service, and even if you haven't been in the military, I mean, if you spend your time focusing on what you can do to help humanity instead of the negativity that we can find every day in the media, on social media, on the news, everywhere you turn, something negative is written. If we spend our time focusing on humanity instead of focusing on that negativity, not only will you help somebody else, but you'll also help yourself feel better about who you are by giving back and serving. So I challenge each and every one of you to do some type of service in your life. It could be as simple as you walk by somebody and you see people like this all the time. They're looking down, Get up under them and smile. What are you doing smiling to me? Or you see them over there, and this is what I used to do, and it was at LA Air Force Base. Big old cubicleitis in a big long hallway, and I'm like, okay, I see you, and I'm going to keep eye contact with you until you look at me, and I'm going to smile at you, because it may be the only smile they see in a day. It will make you feel better, too. I mean, smile. Everybody smile. Doesn't that feel better than... There's that research that says it takes more muscles in your mouth to frown than it does to smile. Use the smile. Give it to somebody else. Give back. Keep giving back and keep staying connected. And don't ever forget where you came from or what your service was about. And for those of you who are family members, you serve too. So you deserve to have help with that transition as well. Stay connected to other military family members and keep yourself connected and keep yourself growing. I don't think that we ever stop growing until we leave this planet. I always challenge people, knowledge is something that you can never stop getting, never stop growing, never stop learning. Even though you're graduating, maybe you're not going to continue on with another degree, but go learn something else. Learn something about business if you're going into business. If you're going into a career, learn something more about that. Read, expand, and keep growing in your knowledge. And stay connected and lift each other up. I'm honored to share this night with you. I want to congratulate all the graduates for graduating. I know how difficult that is. I've always wanted to go back and get my master's degree. Maybe I will one day. But doing this accomplishment, you should be really proud of yourselves, because there's a lot of people who could do it, but they didn't, and you did. So from my heart to yours, I honor you, I celebrate you, and I'm thankful that I got to be here. And my name is Eldana Luz Fernandez. I am Master Sergeant, United States Air Force, retired. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Eldana. Let's give her another round of applause. And of course, we have a little gift for you to remember us. So if you want to open that up so everyone always wants to see what everyone's getting.
Oh, cool.
A nice gold UCI mug.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's great for tea.
Yes.
Oh, I didn't talk about the book.
Oh, yeah.
Do you want to?
Oh, yeah. So you find on your tables, you're going to find a copy of this book. This is for you all to take home. So we only have one copy at each table, with the encouragement that there are books being sold at the back of the room at the end of the night. But we encourage you to give the one copy to the veteran student that's sitting at your table. If you have more than one, you can fight over it. But we encourage you to give it to the students so that they can take it home. Thank you.
Negotiate.
Now I'd like to invite Vice Chancellor Parham. Oh, is he still here? Where'd he go? Oh, yeah. Vice Chancellor Parham. It's like I keep looking at this table. Vice Chancellor Parham and Congressman Correa back up to the stage. What we'd like to do now is honor our graduating 2018 veteran students. If you're graduating, if you could please come up to the stage to take a quick photo with the congressman. I know you've been given instructions to bring your certificates up with you. So if you could grab them real quick and just rush to the stage.
UCI vet.
UCI Bank, how about that one?
Good. All right.
It's now my pleasure to introduce two categories of scholarship recipients, one from Thomas Tierney and one from Elliott Kornhauser. So first, a few words about our good friend Thomas Tierney, who unfortunately could not be with us tonight. But as we think about awarding this Thomas T. Tierney Veteran Student Scholarship, let me tell you something about our good friend. He is currently the CEO of a startup called Beehive.com, LLC, a longtime UCI Foundation trustee. He's also broadly supported our campus, but has specifically been supporting UCI veteran students whose GI education benefits have fallen short of what is required to get them to degree. And Tom has done that really for more than 5 years. Tom Tierney understands the commitment to serve one's country and the challenges of transitioning out of the military to civilian life that come afterwards, as he served in the United States Air Force during the Tet Offensive. He's also the founder of the Tierney Veteran Center, Goodwill of Orange County, who is present with us today. So where are folks at the Tierney table? If you would, stand up and be recognized, right? And Tom couldn't be with us today, but Tom would not leave us without supporting that. So we want to thank you for being with us to represent the Tierney Center. Each of the Tom Tierney Scholarship recipients are each receiving $2,500, with one student who has fully bridged the gap in his need by awarding him $5,000. So I'd now like to invite our Tom Tierney Veteran Scholarship recipients, right, to accept their awards. And there are actually 7 of them. 5 of them are with us tonight. So first of all, Jonathan Juarez. Jonathan? Come right over there. We next would like to recognize Christopher McGuire. If you would stand here. Next, we'd like to recognize Eric Bettis. Eric? Please, if you would stand here with us. Next, we'd like to recognize Jordan Reyes. Next, we'd like to recognize Matthew McLean. Matthew, where are you? There you are. Congratulations to you, man. We also, in their absence, want to recognize Gabriel Opes and also our $5,000 scholarship recipient, Daniel Ackerman. So these 7 people, right, are being acknowledged. So let's give it up for our Tierney Scholarship winners, if you would. Oh, we can do better than that. Give it up for our Tierney Scholarship winners.
In addition, for these special scholarship recipients, we have a challenge coin for them that we're giving them that represents UCI. So it's the special UCI 50th anniversary coin.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Good. One more, good. Our next category of award is given to us by another special friend, Elliott Kornhauser. So Elliott, let me invite you to the stage, if you would, to be with us. And as I told you something about Tom, let me tell you something about Elliott. First of all, you want to know that Elliott is a UCI alum. Received his MBA here, his master's in public health at UCLA, recently retired and founded the Elliott Kornhauser Family Foundation Scholarship. Prior to his retirement, he worked at University of California Irvine Medical Center as a medical director of occupational health, was also an associate clinical professor at our School of Medicine. So I'm delighted that he has joined us and want to thank you. So the Elliott Kornhauser Family Foundation has given a $3,000 scholarship to a deserving veteran student over each of the last 3 years and is pledged to continue that. And so this year's scholarship recipient served in the U.S. Army and is currently pursuing a master's in fine arts in drama with an emphasis in stage management. So we'd like to recognize and bring to the stage Mr. Joseph King. Joseph? Come on, get them down. Earlier, you heard our chancellor mention that the University of California, Irvine, and all of the excellence that we produce literally could not do what we do without strategic partners who help us. So as you think about the Tierney Scholars and the Kornhauser Scholars, this is, right, this in action about what it looks like to have strategic partners who care as much as we do about these veteran students. One more time for our Tierney and Kornhauser Scholars.
And before I continue, I also want to recognize that we have some special representatives in the audience today. We have David Taylor, who's representing Assemblyman Matt Harper's office, who also provided scholarships to some of our recipients. Scott Carpenter, who's representing Senator Morlock's office. Vincent Reya, who's representing Mimi Walter's office. And Kim Vandermeulen, representing Dana Roybacher's office. They also graciously provided certificates for our students that were under their areas. Okay. Now I want to proceed with some of our final awards. There's an award that I haven't awarded in a few years, and I only give it out to a student that stands out in our office. But I would now like to introduce our Peer Advisor of the Year, Angeline Manalo. Angeline has had an interest in giving back to veterans since I met her freshman year. Her second year at UCI, she worked for vocational rehabilitation and commuted all the way to Aliso Viejo. The following year, I stole her back to work to the Veteran Services Center. Over the last 2 years, Angeline has dedicated to completing every task she's been assigned and has always volunteered to take on more with a desire to learn throughout the process, so she can store that knowledge and use it in the future. She designed the invitations for tonight's program, the programs for tonight's dinner, and that's why her name is not printed in the program. Not only was she Not only has she been involved in our office, but as a very busy computer science major, she has performed in UCI's Vagina Monologues and spoke just a couple weeks ago at ASUCI's Regain Mental Health as a panelist participant. If you could please help me welcome Angeline Manalo to the stage.
All right, so I'm presenting on Veteran Student of the Year. Probably should give the student a bit of time to recompose. Ray, start recomposing, processing. Raymond Villarreal is our Student of the Year for 2018. So Ray, just sit there. Listen to your bio, compose yourself, and then you'll come up here. All right? So, Ray served in the U.S. Navy and is graduating with a degree in psychology and social behavior. His professional interest is to pursue a career in educational psychology. He currently works as a peer advisor at the Career Center, was a teaching assistant for veterans in higher ed class taught by Cesar and Adelie. He also TA'd for abnormal psychology. And he's also interns with Human Options in their children's program, which is a nonprofit organization that assists victims and survivors of domestic violence through their journey to recovery by offering emergency shelters, legal advocacy, therapeutic services, and residential services. When called upon by the VSC to be a part of student panels, to speak with incoming student veterans or staff, faculty, and administrators, Ray is exceptional in relating to veterans who are considering transferring to UC Irvine when he shares his stories, his experiences, and personal struggles of transitioning out of the military and back into a civilian and successfully into a student. He has a strong desire to serve and is always looking for opportunities to help others no matter where he is. He has benefited significantly from his experience as a student at UC Irvine and does his best to share information with other veterans and in assisting other students in need. He is always there to support Adelie and I in the work that we do for our veterans. Whether it's picking up a chair, whether it's setting tables, whether it's putting his heart into things, he's always there for us. So I asked a couple people if they could describe Ray in one sentence, what would it be? Some responses I got. This is from Allison Keller, Assistant Director of Career Center, or Career Education. This is such fantastic news. Ray is so deserving. I struggle with one sentence, but Ray has this gift in connecting all people and showing that he genuinely cares about helping others. He is so generous in sharing his experiences, being willing to learn new things, truly listening to others and offering his guidance. It has been an honor to work with him and to learn from him. And Adrian Marquez, Anteater Veterans Association president, says, Ray is a stand-up veteran and a stand-up comedian. He will always have your back and lift your spirits. That's very true. And Adelie Duron, VSC director, Ray has taken all the advice and scored an A+ in navigating college by taking advantage of all the opportunities on campus the campus has to offer, and that's going to truly benefit him in the future. In front of an audience, he is real, raw, and steals the show. All right, and this is what I think of you, Ray. So he's got this signature look to him, and those who know him well, plaid shirt, cowboy boots, and that Nintendo Duck Hunt backpack that his wife bought him. He's a simple guy with a very big heart and very joyful heart. His sincere personality and incredible humor allows him to connect and relate to anyone and everyone. His deep appreciation for life and dedication to leading a life of service inspires a heart of gratitude and service in students, staff, faculty, and those who have the privilege of working with him. So I'd like to bring up our Veteran Student of the Year, Raymond Villarreal. Thank you, Ray.
Thanks.
This is your challenge coin.
Thanks.
Thank you for all you do for us. And here's your little gift. It's plaid,
Really?
but if you'd like to open it.
Sure.
Are you okay?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh,
So to put on your truck or your
Truck.
car?
Yeah,
Your truck?
yeah.
Truck.
thank you.
And then official veteran polo shirt.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ray.
Thank you.
Next, I'd like to invite up UCI graduate alum and 10-year Marine Corps veteran Ab Maldonado. Ab currently is an HR generalist with Physical Optics Corps, but I got to know Ab when he joined the Joint UCI Veteran Talent Reintegration Conference Series Planning Committee, where he made many insightful suggestions that helped us better serve veterans through the programming we created. Many of us will remember the incredibly helpful presentation he gave at the Veteran Talent Career Planning Conference on how to maximize the benefits of LinkedIn. The attendee feedback was off the charts, and we've kept inviting him back to present it in our Veterans in Higher Education course and as a Division of Career Pathways workshop. At that time, when he presented at the conference, he was finishing up his MBA at UCI while also working for Syracuse University, where he implemented and managed Syracuse's program for our Marines at Camp Pendleton. As a first Sergeant Marine, Ab served the Corps as a recruiting manager and then an HR manager. He, like our keynote speaker, also earned a BS degree at Park University. Plus, please welcome Ab Maldonado, who is going to be joined by one of our veteran students and one of our Thomas T. Tierney Veteran Scholarship recipients, Eric Perez.
Good evening, everyone. As a veteran and a UCI alum, I'm truly humbled to be here today. Just a show of hands. I know we got a bunch of vets in the room. How many of you are first-generation college graduates? Sweet. All right. So, like many of you, I'm also a first-generation graduate from college. Hopefully, your plan and your way of getting a degree was a lot faster than mine. It took me 5 years and 3 deployments to Iraq to finally get my associates in arts and liberal studies from Palomar College, right around the corner from Camp Pendleton. And then I really buckled down, and it took me another 4 years and 2 deployments to Afghanistan to finally get my Bachelor of Science in Marketing from Park University. And aside from you and the people I graduated, I haven't seen another Park University graduate, so it's awesome, right? And so that was in 2014. And in 2015, my wife, in 2013, she applied here. And in 2015, she graduated from UCI's Paul Raj School of Business with an executive MBA. And she's a Marine veteran too. And so I couldn't have her one-up me, so I applied in 2015. and I was lucky enough to get in. And when I got here, I'm from Jersey. And I just knew I wanted to get away from the cold, and I wanted to travel and see the world. And so my recruiter told me a bunch of cool stories about how great it is in California. And next thing you know, I was in 29 Palms. So, yeah. And so while I made the best of that decision, I didn't make it with the most information. And with UCI, I mean, their colors are awesome, and they're your UC and the OC, right? So that was all I needed. And thanks to my wife, I married up. She's really smart. She like looked up this school a lot, and she made a great choice, and I just happened to make one too. And you know, what's really funny is because I'm a first college graduate, one of the things I did as a first time before I got out was I would do an exit interview with all the people leaving the military. And you know, I'd hear probably one of three plans. It was like, oh, I'm going to get a job. Like, what's your plan to get a job? Oh, I'll figure it out. I got a job. Right? Like, hey, bro, it's kind of hard. You got like full bennies, 30 days paid vacation, 1st and 15th. You don't even got to work hard. You just got to be here. And we pay you to work out. Once you get out, you ain't going to look like the Hulk. You're going to look more like Shrek. You sure you don't want to stay? And some of them would still leave, and they'd have a not so great plan. Some would come back, and some would do other things. And then there was my other plan that was pretty awesome was I'm going to go and stay and hang out at mom's house and go to community college as a 20-something-year-old person. That just didn't make sense to me, but I was like, all right, good luck. You sure this thing we're doing here is pretty cool and you're getting paid and, you know, good uniform, chicks dig it, you'll be all right, you know, stay with us. And, you know, some of them will still leave and we wish them well. But then there was that third group that was really, really awesome. And they had a solid plan. Whether it was to get a job, they had a referral. They had a job in. They already had a degree. If they were going to go out and get a degree, they didn't go to like Southampton's Institute of Technology or something like that. They went to a real school. And what I liked about it is I always looked at the Montgomery GI Bill as a Willy Wonka ticket. You know, remember that movie from back in the day? Everybody's seen that. The Willy Wonka chocolate ticket to the factory. It was just like your golden dream. I'm from Jersey. Not many of my friends went to college. My parents came from Puerto Rico. I was a first generation here. My dad didn't graduate high school. My mom barely graduated high school. My brother, I think my mom beat him up to graduate high school. But I mean, that's like where we stopped. And I was the first one to get a degree. So I realized how important that was, even if it meant finding time before work or after work or somewhere in between, standing up, falling asleep in line at the bank while I'm trying to do homework, whatever, to get a degree. I realized really early in my career that Willy Wonka chocolate factory ticket was awesome. And there were a lot of people that paved the way that we could use it. So when I did my exit interviews, I may have not known about life on the outside world, but I did know that a degree really opened up some doors. And so when I got out of the military, I helped a lot of people get into different jobs. And with Syracuse University, they do a lot of awesome research in the veteran space. And some of the folks that have graduated from there have moved on to like universities like George Washington University in DC, where they do a lot of other research as well. And what's funny is around the time I graduated high school, which was a long time ago, we won't say any dates, right? Because I definitely served more than 10 years. I just put that on my LinkedIn profile, so you don't know how old I am, right? So they did a study around in the 90s, and they said, looking at transition, they were revamping transition in the 90s. It used to be a 2-day thing, and it was like high five, good luck. And then they changed it to this 5-day deal, and it was still something to work on. And then the program at Syracuse and many others since 2015 have really modified that transition to take that timeline and shift it to the left about 6 months to really give people time to prep. Anyways, in this study, what they really identified is employment is really the doorway to a successful transition after the military. And they even took it a step further. They said, well, if employment is the doorway to a successful transition, then education is truly the key to getting meaningful employment. And so I applaud all the student veterans that are in this room that are either going to graduate this year, I mean, I see from last year, some of you are here, and ones that are going to graduate next year, because you really maximized that Willy Wonka chocolate factory ticket. And I seriously, I applaud you. It's great that you went to a great school. Now, while many people will think that the post-9/11 GI Bill would fully cover your cost of a veteran's education, more often than not, that's not the case. And there's several reasons for that. The most it's going to cover, if you're 100% qualified for that, is 36 months. And if you did a little less time, then you're going to get less of that benefit. Another thing that'll stop that is if your average veteran, I mean, not me, I wasn't average. It took me like a decade to get my degree. I definitely don't recommend that. But on average, it's a little more than 4 years. So if you're looking at 36 months, that's 3 years, and it's 4 years to finish your degree, you're still going to come up short. And so another thing that is different for veterans with the experience is, some of you probably don't remember Billy Madison. I mean, that's what I felt like when I was in school. But I mean, most of veterans, they're not typical college students. They're older. They got a much stronger beard game. What's up, man? That's awesome, right? Right? And then, they have families. They have other responsibilities, and some of them are working. So putting all those things together, while it'd be great to go to school full-time every day, all day, lights to lights, that's not always an option. And so, the UCI's Military Bridging the Gap Scholarship is designed to truly bridge that gap. It's about 12 months, if my math's right? 40, 30, 48 minus 36, carry to 7, divided by 2. Yeah, it's like 12 months. And, those GI Bills and the actual cost of our veteran student education. As I said, varying levels of the need, but many have that need. It's just, all they need really is truly just a little bit more support. And that little bit of support will help them get across that finish line. So when I see people, you gonna make it? You good? Is he okay? All right, awesome, glad. So, while I see many people that were leaving the service have this great plan, many of those plans fell short because they fell out of money. They just ran out of money because they were juggling life. And with the UCI's Bridging the Military Gap Scholarship, that helps so many students be able to bridge that gap. And today, you're going to hear from veteran student Eric Perez. He's going to share with you how his Military Bridging the Gap Scholarship is helping him.
All right. Thank you, Ed. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for coming out. I just want to say that, first, thank you for my support, my wife, my family, and to the Tierney Veteran Group. I just want to say thank you because I didn't have a plan on how I was going to be able to make this gap. I thought it was going to be just covered and I was going to be taken care of, and I didn't realize that there was a shortcoming. So, anyways, I was very grateful to have applied, and I felt like I didn't deserve it, but deep down inside, I really knew that through the help, that I do deserve it. I do deserve to be here. I do represent my family. I do represent the veterans and all those that are in the crowd today, and all those that have gone before me, all my brothers. I am living that dream. I am part of that. That's me. And I just thank you very much. Deep down inside, I am grateful that I had this opportunity. So thank you, guys.
So as you can see, Eric's definitely appreciative, and I'm pretty sure, Congressman Lou Carrera, you've heard many of stories similar to this where students weren't able to finish school or were looking for the last bit of funds for finishing school. I haven't heard enough of them. I want to hear more. Yep, we'll be more than happy to tell you all about them. And there's many similar stories from recipients that received other awards today that aren't here to share their story. The UCI's Military Bridging the Gap Scholarship truly does make a huge difference for all the hardworking veteran students. So there are many ways that you can help our student veterans. You can mentor through programs like American Corporate Partners or Veterati, or through the school's mentorship programs. You can provide internships or jobs if you're gainfully employed. You can also donate to the UCI Military Bridging the Gap Scholarship Funds. Heck, you can start your own scholarships like some of the gentlemen here did. And, like Tom Tierney with the Tierney Foundation, as well as Elliott Kornhauser, who have created their own manual scholarships, or simply contribute to the existing Military Bridging the Gap Scholarship Fund through UCI's Veteran Service Center. Big or small, all gifts are welcome. So recently, the university held a campus-wide giving day, and Veteran Service Centers recently received collectively $1,500, representing a number of gifts. We only need minimally another $1,000 to turn that into a military student Bridging the Gap Scholarship for next year. So here's some not Pacific, it's not an ocean. Here are some specific ways you can make a gift tonight. At each of your tables, you're going to see donor cards. They look similar like this. And on the back side, you'll see we invite you to be a part of the academic success of the UCI student veterans. And there's two different ways you can support. You can support through the Military Student Program Fund, number 3469, or you can support the Bridging the Gap Military Student Scholarship Foundation, which is about a 20-80 split between its current use and the endowment. Now, all you'd have to do, if you look on the back, you put your name, address, basic information. We do accept credit cards, checks, cash, preferably checks. You can make a pledge if you don't have any money here now to put a donation. This is definitely something As you can see how much it's touched Eric's lives and the people that were up here earlier, this is something that truly does make a difference in a veteran's life. And if you can make a donation today, they'll greatly support it. We greatly appreciate it. But it's not just you. For the faculty, staff, and what's the word I gotta say? 1 second, please. So for the UCI family, faculty, and staff like yourself that want to support veterans, we can make it easy for you too. At the back of the table, way in the back, over there, waving our hands. We have forms that you can fill out to make it very simple and easy for you to make a donation as well. Additionally, we have a fun opportunity at your table. If you'd like to make a donation of minimally $25 or more, there's a special envelope to make a gift for both Eldona Fernandez's latest book, all about developing negotiation expertise, and the table centerpieces. So these are the books, or is this the book? This is the book. See, I came prepared. Like, what, this one, that one? No, this one. All right, so it's this book, along with the centerpiece that is, I spent a lot of time in 29 Palms. You could try to fool me. That is not a flower. Can somebody hold up the centerpiece? Yeah, the centerpiece, the succulents, is that what they call them? Yeah, that's not a flower. But that as well for a $25 donation. So I want to just say thank you very much for all your support of UCI's current and former servicemen and women. If you have any questions about donating, please feel free to talk to me, Adeli Duran, Tiana Johnson, Jen Kill, or Michelle Ward. Now, Adeli has some fun information to share about the drawings today.
Thank you, Ab. If you can direct your attention to the screens as we announce our opportunity drawing winners, prizes can be redeemed at the registration desk. Thank you for attending our Veteran Appreciation Dinner.
But before you do that, so I'm kind of crashing things here. So I'm one of the older veterans here. Something needs to be said about Thomas Parham, okay? I've been here since 1978, and I'm sorry to crash the party here, but I don't think we veterans, or some of you veterans, understand the impact that he has had on not just the school. The school, he's done this, okay? But veterans. I mean, I remember when Manuel Gomez stepped down, and maybe Thomas was an interim, I don't remember, that's too long ago, but he said he was going to make veterans, student veterans a priority. And man, we used to meet in that crappy little room over there in Cross Cultural Center that we had to share with like about 10 different groups. And now all of a sudden we have, priority housing and priority registration. And yes, and we have, this wonderful vet center. And he has been a true advocate for this university. And I myself am going to miss having him here because he's just such a good guy. But once again, I know there's a retirement thing and all for you, Thomas, but the point is that the veterans, you are special to us. And you have talked the talk and you've walked the walk. And I, as not the oldest veteran in here, there's like about 2 older than me. One of them left because I think he had to go to bed. And so where's Chase? Chase, where are you, Chase? Chase, where are you? He left too. I am the oldest veteran. Jeez. But the point is that we just heard about this 2-day handshake and a week-long handshake of getting out. I got out, it was a handshake. I shook hands and I returned from my deployment. Okay, I was 20 years old. This is during Vietnam. So a lot has changed since then. So I'm not just here to praise Tom. I think that since Howard has been the chancellor, he has been here every dinner, okay? And I can tell you that is not the norm. And so the fact that we have a vice chancellor and a chancellor who are supportive of us, okay? I'm not a student, by the way. I took even longer than the last speaker. Although, where's that last guy? Where is he? Right there. I went to Palomar College also. Yeah. GI Bill. But, okay, one final thing, I'm sorry. Everybody who is in this room who was a graduate of UCI and is a veteran, please stand up. Stand up. Okay, 2 or 3 of them have left. The point is, and Nicole, Tunisia was right here. The thing is that UCI makes it like a family thing. You know, I mean, it really is a wonderful support system. And so I once again, I mean, I think that comes from, you know, our veteran service, but in particular, Thomas, thank you. Okay, sorry. Check to see if you won a prize.
And that's Professor Donald Blake for you. Thank you, Thomas. We really do appreciate it. So, like I was saying, so opportunity drawing winners, your name is on the screen if you won. We hope you enjoyed the evening with us, and we look forward to seeing you again next year. Now, I know not all of you won, or won what you had hoped for, but I have one more surprise for you. If you take a look under your seats, every table has at least one lucky winner for either a night at the Improv or a meal at In-N-Out. So look around. There's one winner, at least one winner at each table. I just want to take a moment and thank our Veteran Services Center team out over there in the corner. I want to thank Michelle and Tiana, who have helped put this dinner together. John Duong, who's the programmer for today. Allison, Shara, and Camber, who've helped us today. And of course, our kitchen staff. If everyone could help me give applause to all of our catering and kitchen staff that helped make tonight possible. Thank you and have a good night.